My name is Helen Louise Baker Cassee. My birth date is December the 3rd, 1945, in Chickasha, Oklahoma.
This is Oklahoma, a colorful land, a land of contrasts, 70,000 square miles of America's heartland, alive with the warmth and spirit of the great Southwest. Here, green mountains rise, the wooded hills of the eastern counties. Westward lie the Great Plains, the canyon country. Rich wheatlands to the north stand golden with ripening grain. Hills and rolling prairies stretch mile after mile to Red River on the south. Here is a land where plains meet mountains. Rich in variety, rich in potential, Oklahoma is truly Heartland, USA.
Reverend Emmy Roy Baker and Jenny Patterson Baker were married, and their parents were slaves, so they were descendants of slaves. Reverend Baker had 22 brothers and sisters, so they all split up. They went different states or different cities, but Emmy Roy Baker wanted to come to Oklahoma. So him and his wife and the two oldest children, Green Baker and Mary Baker, they were like 5 and 6 years old or something like that. They came to Oklahoma. Emmy Roy and Jenny recognized the importance of education, moral values, and Christian values, and they were hard work. And so him and his wife both wanted a school in Rush Springs, because in Rush Springs, they didn't have any schools back then. That was in 1916. And they said, well, you can't open up a school because you don't have a teacher, and the teacher has to pass the test. And Emmy Roy says, my oldest daughter, Jenny Baker, was able, she can pass the test. So they went to the county seat, and Jenny, his daughter, Jenny Baker, one of the older daughters, had to pass the test. So she did pass it with flying colors. So she became the teacher for that school for 28 children, which included my dad and all his sisters and brothers, and a lot of black families that lived in Rush Springs, Oklahoma. My Aunt Sarah and my cousin Charlesetta McPeters were the only living school students that were still living. Aunt Sarah was my aunt, my dad's youngest sister. Aunt Sarah was 92 at this time of this celebration, and my cousin was 88 years old. I went to school in Chickasha, Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma College for Women, and it was changed to Oklahoma College of Liberal Arts, which was a co-education. First it was a women's college, but then it was a co-educational college. My sister and I, Jenny Baker Middleton, went there when we lived in Chickasha. My dad, who lived on the farm, which my grandfather staked out when he was very young. My dad had a farm there also, and my grandfather, he took over after my grandfather passed, him and his uncle. So they raised cattle, they raised watermelon, peanuts, cotton on the farm. He did that part-time. He was a policeman in Chickasha, Oklahoma, and he before he went to work, he always went to work at 3 o'clock. So in the morning, he did his police job, and in the evening in the morning he did the farming job, and he did his police job in the evening. Our oldest son was a teacher also. He taught school at an early age. One of his sisters was a principal at a school, and my sister and I would always go to her school in Sonata, Oklahoma. And we went to her school. We enjoyed, one of my aunts was a teacher, and she was a principal. We enjoyed going to her school. And also my dad sold cattle. Back then we didn't have tuition. They didn't have student loans and all of that. So my dad had to pay for our education. So he would sell his cattle and pay for our education, our books. And my mother would work part-time to help pay for our education because they were real and felt it was very important for us to have an education. We went to church in Chickasha, Oklahoma. My dad instilled us the importance of going to church, so we went to First Baptist Church in Chickasha, Oklahoma. We participated in the choir, we were in the usher board, we said speeches at Christmas time and Easter time, and we just really, and we had BTU, Baptist Training Union, on Sunday. My friends and I always participated in church all day on Sunday. We went to Sunday school, then we went to church service, and afternoon we go back home and come back we call it BTU. My brothers even directed the choir at the church, and they enjoyed that, which they were musically inclined because my oldest brother played the saxophone and my next oldest brother played the trumpet. So my brothers directed the choir at the church, so we were very important. I mean, we did a lot of important things in the church, and we went to conventions connected with the church. And I taught Sunday school my year in college. I still went to the church because I went to college in the same hometown. The church there was started when my dad was young. We didn't go to church on the land. We lived in Chickasha. I guess it was demolished when he died, although all the family scattered out and went to different cities in Oklahoma. And our family went to Chickasha. My great-grandmother was an Indian, and she did sign the roll. But we have a paperwork on that, but we don't know how. We're trying to find out how to go about really finding out more information about that. And one time when I was working at the school I retired from, one of the librarians asked me one day, "You have some Indian in you, because I see it." And she was the teacher that would teach all the Indian children at our school. So one day when my brother was living, Willie Baker, I went and asked him about the Indian heritage. And he said we did have an Indian heritage, Choctaw and Cherokee. I'm not for sure which one, Choctaw or the Cherokee. And he said that that my granddad didn't sign the roll during that time. The 160 acres, which is in Rush Springs, Oklahoma, we are, the members of the Baker family are we're in the process of trying to keep our land. I think my ancestors wouldn't mind in some instances to sell it if we got it, if we want to, sell it. Because my dad really wanted to keep up the land, and he wanted, when he got too old, he couldn't keep up the land because I think he was the only one that in the family, and my aunt Priscilla Baker Black were really interested in the land. And I think if they were living today, they would want us to try to keep it and cultivate it. But none of us are really farmers.